Why do so many traders destroy their accounts even when they're right about market direction? Think about that for a moment. You've probably experienced this yourself. You analyze a stock, predict it's going to rise, and sure enough, it does. But somehow, you still lost money. How is that even possible? The answer to this question is going to challenge everything you think you know about trading success, because the truth is brutally simple. Forcing trades when you're not supposed to be in the market is the fastest way to consistent losses, and most traders are doing it every single day without even realizing it. Here's what nobody tells you when you start trading. The market doesn't care about your analysis. It doesn't care that you spent hours studying charts, reading financial reports, or analyzing patterns. It doesn't reward intelligence, hard work, or even being correct about where prices are headed. The market rewards one thing and one thing only: perfect timing. And perfect timing requires something that goes against every fiber of our being as humans. The ability to sit still and do absolutely nothing even when you're convinced you found the perfect opportunity. Has this ever happened to you? You're watching a stock, you know it's going to move, you can feel it, and there's this voice screaming inside your head saying, if I don't get in right now, I'm going to miss it. So you jump in, you force the trade, and then the market proceeds to do what it always does. It tests you, shakes you out, and moves exactly where you predicted, but you're not in it anymore. You lost money being right. That's the cruel irony of forcing trades. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Now here's what's really happening behind the scenes that most traders never understand. In a world that celebrates hustle, constant action, and seizing every opportunity, the financial markets operate on a completely opposite principle. The markets reward patience, not the passive, hopeful kind of patience where you're sitting around wishing things work out. I'm talking about disciplined, strategic, almost painful patience. The kind where you watch perfect setups pass by, where you resist the magnetic pull to do something, where you accept that most of the time, the best action is no action at all. This goes against everything we're taught. We're conditioned to believe that productivity means constant motion, that success comes from taking action, that standing still means falling behind. But in trading, that equation is completely reversed. Motion equals destruction. Activity equals losses. The compulsion to force trades when conditions aren't perfect is the single most expensive habit you can develop. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might completely transform how you approach the markets. The traders who make consistent profits aren't the ones constantly in and out of positions. They're not the ones with the most trades or the most screen time. They're the ones who have mastered something most people can never learn: the ability to do nothing until the moment is absolutely perfect. And that's where the transformation in your trading journey truly begins. Let me share something with you that might sting a little, but it's a truth you need to hear. Being right about where the market is going but wrong about when it's going to get there is financially identical to being completely wrong. Think about what that really means for a moment. You can spend hours, days even, analyzing a stock. You understand the fundamentals better than anyone. You've studied the charts, identified the patterns, and you're absolutely convinced this thing is about to explode higher. So you enter the position feeling confident, maybe even a little proud of yourself for spotting the opportunity. And then reality hits. The market immediately starts moving against you. The price drops. Your conviction starts to crack. Doubt creeps in. Did you miss something? Is your analysis flawed? Should you cut your losses now, or should you hold on because you know you're right? The psychological pressure builds with every tick against you. Eventually, you can't take it anymore. You exit the position at a loss, frustrated, confused, questioning your entire approach, and then, almost like the market was mocking you, the stock proceeds to do exactly what you predicted. It moves precisely where you said it would. But you're not in it anymore. You were shaken out. This invisible battle between correct analysis and poor timing destroys more trading accounts than bad analysis ever could. That's the hidden truth nobody talks about. Now, I want to go even deeper into this because understanding this at a fundamental level changes everything about how you make decisions. Here's the mindset shift that separates those who make it from those who don't. We are not commanders of the market. We're not generals issuing orders that prices must follow. We are students. We are observers. We are followers of evidence, not priests making predictions and demanding the market bow to our brilliance. The ticker tape is speaking to you every single day, every single hour, revealing the collective decisions of millions of participants moving billions of dollars. It's showing you what's actually happening right now, not what should happen according to your thesis. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button. This channel is dedicated to sharing the real principles that actually work in the markets. No hype, just truth. I don't want you to miss what's coming next. When you ignore that voice, when you dismiss what the price action is, screaming at you because it contradicts your beautiful analysis, you're not being disciplined or confident, you're being arrogant. And the market has a very expensive way of humbling that arrogance. True profit doesn't come from clever predictions or constant action. It comes from the stillness, it comes from the waiting, it comes from respecting what the market is telling you instead of forcing your will upon it. This is the journey from ego-driven trading to evidence-based execution, and it's where everything changes. If this is starting to click for you, write in the comments, "I'm ready to follow, not force." Because here's something that will completely shift your perspective on how markets actually work. Imagine for a moment that you're standing on the bank of a powerful river. The current is massive, relentless, carrying thousands of tons of water downstream with unstoppable force. You have a small boat sitting ready at the shore. Now, do you honestly think you can paddle upstream against that current and make meaningful progress? You might move a few feet through sheer exhausting effort, burning through all your energy, fighting against something infinitely more powerful than you. But eventually, that current will push you right back to where you started. Or worse, it'll flip your vessel completely and drag you under. The market operates on this exact same principle. It's already moving. It's already on a momentum path. There's a mass of capital rolling in a specific direction, and you cannot push that mass. You cannot create the current. You cannot bend it to your will, no matter how convinced you are about your analysis or how badly you want to be right. Your only intelligent option, the only decision that makes sense, is to align yourself perfectly with the prevailing flow once its direction becomes fixed and undeniable. Fighting the market exhausts you for nothing. It drains your capital, destroys your confidence, and leaves you beaten down, while the river keeps flowing without caring that you tried to swim against it. But joining that current at the right moment, that carries you effortlessly toward profit. This is where most traders make their first catastrophic mistake, and it happens before they even look at a single stock chart. They fall in love with an individual opportunity without understanding the environment that surrounds it. They find a stock they're excited about, convince themselves it's going to explode, and completely ignore what's happening in the broader market. That's like trying to predict whether a single tree will survive a storm without first checking which direction the wind is blowing across the entire forest. The hidden truth behind all of this is that your first step is never to analyze a stock. Your first step is to analyze the pressure on the entire market itself. The general condition dictates the fate of the particular, always. If the overall market trend is bearish, if the pressure across the entire exchange is pushing downward, Even the most exceptional company with record earnings and perfect fundamentals will struggle to move higher. It doesn't matter how brilliant your stock analysis is. It doesn't matter if the company deserves to rally. The weight of the surrounding environment will drag it down or keep it suppressed far longer than your capital or patience can endure. On the other side, when market pressure is overwhelmingly bullish, even mediocre companies with questionable fundamentals often get carried higher on the wave of collective optimism. This isn't random luck. This is understanding the impact of macro forces before making micro decisions. If you're seeing how this all connects, drop in the comments. Environment first, stock second. But even when you've correctly identified that broader market pressure, there's still another layer of discipline required that separates the amateurs from the professionals. You must wait until the market explicitly confirms the direction of the major trend. And I'm not talking about a hint. I'm not talking about a suggestion or a feeling that things might be turning. I'm talking about explicit, undeniable confirmation. You have to wait until the trend has gathered enough force to crush the opposition effortlessly, when all ambiguity disappears and the path forward becomes so clear that even a skeptic would have to acknowledge it. This is where the real transformation in your trading mindset happens. You're waiting for that moment when the market stops whispering and starts shouting, when there's no debate left, when the evidence is so overwhelming that forcing a trade in the opposite direction would be financial suicide. To speculate against this established momentum, to try catching the bottom or calling the top before confirmation arrives, that's not trading. That's defiance, that's ego, and defiance is the most expensive luxury you can afford in the markets. The market doesn't care about your courage or your contrarian pride. It will simply take your money and move on without a second thought. Here's a revelation that might sting a little, but you need to hear it. Being early is financially indistinguishable from being wrong. The outcome is identical. Lost capital, shattered confidence, mounting psychological stress. You don't get rewarded for predicting the turn before it happens. You get rewarded for recognizing the turn after it's been confirmed and then positioning yourself accordingly. The market only rewards those who wait for overwhelming evidence, not those who guess correctly, but too soon. Now, let me show you something that will either liberate you or frustrate you, depending on how attached you are to your own brilliance. The ticker tape is always telling you the truth, always. It's the voice of the market speaking in the only language that actually matters, which is price. It's immediate, unvarnished, and brutally honest. When the tape is telling you one story through, actual price movement, and your analysis or research or gut feeling is telling you something completely different, there is only one correct decision to make. Trust the tape every single time. This goes against everything we're conditioned to believe about having conviction and sticking to our guns. But here's the hidden truth behind the scenes that changes everything. The market is never wrong. Your opinions, they're wrong all the time. My opinions are wrong constantly. Everyone's opinions are just educated guesses dressed up in confidence. But that price printed on the tape, that number you see right there, that's the final irreversible judgment of millions of participants and billions of dollars combined. When you fight against what the tape is showing you, when you insist that your analysis is somehow superior to the collective voice of the entire market, you're not being disciplined or strong-willed. You're being delusional, and delusion is expensive. If this is starting to reshape how you see the markets, write in the comments, "The tape is my teacher." Because once you accept that the tape is your ultimate guide, you stop arguing with reality. You stop holding on to losing positions, hoping they'll turn around. You stop the emotional torture of waiting for the market to validate your intelligence. But there's another dimension to this that most traders completely miss. And it's the reason why even experienced people get absolutely chopped up and spit out during certain market conditions. When price movement becomes choppy, confusing, contradictory, bouncing up and down without any clear direction, the market is speaking to you. It's telling you something crucial. It's saying that the battle between buying and selling pressure is perfectly balanced. Neither side has control. This is equilibrium. And during this equilibrium phase, the market transforms into what I call the washing machine. It's specifically designed to shake out weak hands, confuse traders who rely too heavily on patterns, and punish anyone who tries to force a trade when there's no clear trend. Any commitment you make during this balance is nothing more than a guess. It's a coin flip, a 50-50 proposition at best. And your profits are never built on guesses. They're not built on hope or hunches or trying your luck. They're built on certainties, on clear signals, on undeniable momentum. When the market is in this confused state, the only intelligent move is to do literally nothing. And I mean nothing. Not scale down your position size, not try to scalp small moves, nothing. You step aside completely, preserve your capital, and wait for clarity to return. This is where the journey gets psychologically uncomfortable for most people, because doing nothing feels like failure. It feels like you're missing opportunities while everyone else is making money. It feels like you're being lazy or scared or not good enough. But the hidden truth is that the best traders in the world spend the vast majority of their time doing absolutely nothing. They're waiting, they're watching, they're conserving their energy and capital for those rare moments when everything aligns perfectly. Now, I want to go even deeper into what's probably costing you more money than you realize. There's this nagging, almost unbearable feeling that grips you the moment you think you've figured something out. You've done your homework. You see the setup forming. And suddenly, there's this voice screaming inside your head saying, if you don't get in right now, you're going to miss it. Everyone else is going to make money, and you'll be left behind watching from the sidelines. That's the fear of missing out, and it's one of the most destructive emotions in trading. If this video gave you a new perspective or helped clarify something you've been struggling with, hit that like button. It takes just 1 second but makes a huge difference in helping this reach more people who need it. The amateur rushes into a position the instant this feeling hits. They can't help themselves. They hit the buy button before confirmation arrives, before the setup is complete, before the market has actually proven anything. And what happens? By entering early, they guarantee themselves maximum exposure to all the minor fluctuations and inevitable shakeouts that happen before the real move begins. What's happening behind the scenes is that market makers and institutions know exactly how retail traders think. They know you're impatient. They know you're scared of missing out, so they create these shakeouts specifically designed to trigger your stop losses and force you out right before the actual momentum kicks in. You enter too early, get stopped out at a loss, and then watch in absolute agony as the stock does exactly what you predicted, but you're not in it anymore. If you've ever experienced this, type in the comments, "I've been shaken out before." This isn't just about the money you lose on that initial shakeout. It's the psychological damage that follows. It's the doubt that creeps into every future decision. It's the second guessing that paralyzes you when the next opportunity appears. The impact compounds over time until you're either beaten down completely or so hesitant that you can't pull the trigger even when everything aligns perfectly. The transformation happens when you understand something that seems counterintuitive at first. The professional trader is willing to sacrifice the first few points of a move to gain something far more valuable, the certainty of confirmation. They're not trying to catch the absolute bottom or nail the perfect top. They're waiting for proof that the move is real, sustainable, and backed by genuine momentum. The amateur sees those first few points moving and panics. They rush in, trying to capture every single cent of the potential profit. And what happens? They give back 10 points in the inevitable retreat that follows because they entered before the foundation was solid. Meanwhile, the professional watches patiently. They let the early movers get shaken out. They wait for the volatility to settle, and then they enter with confidence once the path is clear. They might miss the first 3 points of the move, but they capture the next 30 with far less stress and far greater certainty. That's the hidden truth behind profitable trading. It's not about being first. It's about being right at the right time. Now, let me show you something that will completely change how you look at price charts. Every significant move in the market doesn't just happen randomly. There are specific observable moments that act as triggers, pivot points, where the price confirms whether a trend is reversing or continuing. These aren't arbitrary lines someone drew to look smart. These are real battlegrounds where accumulated buying or selling pressure has been tested multiple times. They're the decision points where the market reveals its true intentions. But here's the critical part that separates winners from losers. You cannot jump in the moment you see price approaching that pivot point. That's the amateur mistake all over again. The same fear of missing out dressed up in technical analysis. You have to allow the stock to actually cross the critical threshold. It needs to trade beyond the resistance level or support level, whatever the case may be. And then, and this is where most people fail, it needs to hold that new territory for several sessions. Not just one dramatic spike that gets everyone excited and then immediately collapses back down. Not a quick test that reverses within hours. It needs to establish a new foundation and prove that the breakthrough was real, backed by genuine conviction from the market. You're choosing delayed gratification over instant satisfaction. You're choosing certainty over ego. You're choosing to wait until the evidence is overwhelming rather than rushing in based on anticipation or hope. This is a complete mindset shift in how you think about opportunity itself. If this is clicking for you, write in the comments. Confirmation over perfection. Most traders see that pivot point breaking and immediately imagine themselves as the genius who got in at the perfect moment right before the explosion. But the hidden truth is that those moments are usually traps designed to catch exactly that kind of thinking. The market loves to tease the breakthrough, attract a crowd of eager buyers, and then slam the door shut and reverse right back into the old range. If you're already in, you're crushed. If you waited, you just saved yourself from an expensive lesson. But price crossing a level isn't enough by itself. There's another dimension to this that most people completely overlook, and it's the passage of time. Price movements must be confirmed by time. This is profound when you really understand what it means for your decision-making process. A strong move that lasts only 1 hour is noise. It could be manipulation. It could be a news headline creating temporary excitement. It could be a single large player moving the market for their own purposes. Whatever it is, it's not something you should bet your hard-earned capital on, but a strong move that persists for 3 consecutive days, closing higher each day or lower each day if it's a downtrend. That's evidence. That's a trend forming. That's momentum building. Time acts as the ultimate filter, separating real, sustainable movements from temporary fluctuations that look exciting in the moment, but lead absolutely nowhere. The longer a trend persists without breaking down, the more firmly it's established, and the safer it becomes to commit substantial capital to it. You're not hunting for quick moves anymore. You're hunting for confirmed, sustainable, inevitable moves. And that changes everything about your psychology, because you stop feeling rushed and start feeling in control. Now, I want to go even deeper into something that will either liberate you or frustrate you depending on how attached you are to constant action. Here's a number that might shock you. An estimated 90% of successful trading is discipline and observation. 90%. That means only 10% is actual execution. Think about what that means for how you're spending your time right now. If you find yourself trading every single day, placing orders constantly, adjusting positions, jumping in and out of stocks, you're not trading, you're overtrading. And you're probably donating your capital directly to the exchanges through fees, slippage, and countless small losses that add up faster than you realize. The great psychological battle isn't fought against the market. It's fought against boredom. It's fought against that internal compulsion to do something, anything, just to feel productive and useful. We live in a culture that equates activity with progress, motion with achievement. But in trading, that entire equation is reversed. Motion often equals destruction. Constant activity equals bleeding capital. Stillness equals preservation and preparation. This is a mindset transformation that goes beyond just making money. It's about recognizing that there's immense power in doing nothing when there's nothing worth doing. And here's something most people never accept. Cash is a position. Cash is often the most strategically advantageous position you can possibly take. If you're finally understanding this, drop in the comments. Stillness is strength. When the market is unclear, when signals are mixed, when nothing is setting up with high probability, being in cash means the market cannot hurt you. Your capital is safe, your psychology is protected, you're ready and able to strike when the perfect moment finally arrives. But when you're always exposed, always hoping your current position will somehow work out, you're vulnerable every single second. Most people can't handle this. They feel guilty sitting in cash. They feel like they're wasting time or missing opportunities. But those quiet periods where you're on the sidelines watching without participating are often the most valuable part of your entire journey. Now, let me share something with you about how wealth actually transfers in the markets, because understanding this changes everything about when you choose to act. The market is literally designed to move money from the impatient to the patient. It's not a metaphor or motivational saying. It's the actual mechanism behind how fortunes are built and destroyed. Perfect timing often involves waiting until the weak hands have completely exhausted their efforts. This is what's called capitulation, and it's the moment when the real transfer of wealth happens. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in real time. During the final phase of a bear move, you'll see sharp, irrational selling. Panic takes over. People who held on through weeks or even months of decline finally give up hope and dump their positions at the absolute worst possible moment. They can't take the psychological pressure anymore. It crushes them. And that final wave of capitulation, that washing out of weak supply, clears the decks completely. It creates a vacuum where selling pressure simply doesn't exist anymore because everyone who was going to sell already has. This is the moment smart money has been waiting for. Not when things look good, not when sentiment is improving, but when the last terrified holder finally throws in the towel and walks away. That's when the real move begins, because now there's no resistance left. The same principle applies in reverse during bull market tops when buying power is finally exhausted. But here's where everything we've talked about comes together into one final, essential revelation. Timing supersedes analysis every single time. No exceptions. You can have the most detailed, sophisticated, fundamental analysis in the world. You can know everything about a company's earnings, management, competitive advantages, future prospects. That analysis tells you which stock should move. It gives you the reason, the justification, the intellectual framework. But observation of the tape, actual price action happening right now, that's what dictates when the move will actually occur. Fundamentals are the reason. Timing is the execution. And if you get the execution wrong, the reason becomes completely irrelevant. Never, and I mean never, let your conviction about a company override the message the ticker tape is sending you. I don't care how strong your thesis is or how certain you are that something is undervalued. If the tape is telling you the market doesn't agree yet, you wait. If this distinction is becoming clear, write in the comments, timing is everything. Because the finest analysis in the world is completely worthless if it leads you to commit capital 5 months too early. You'll be right eventually, sure, but you'll be financially wrong during those 5 months. Your capital will be tied up earning nothing while better opportunities pass you by. Your psychology will be tested to the breaking point, and there's a very real chance you'll give up right before the move finally happens. Analysis finds the target, but timing pulls the trigger. That's the edge most traders never find, because they're too busy chasing action instead of waiting for certainty. If you made it all the way to this point, you're already different from the majority. You've invested your time and attention into understanding something that goes completely against what most people believe about trading. That tells me you're serious about this journey, and that's exactly the kind of mindset that leads to real transformation. So here's what I'd love for you to do. First, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. This channel exists to cut through the noise and give you the real principles that actually work in the markets. Not hype, not get-rich-quick schemes, just the truth about what separates consistent winners from everyone else. Every video is built to add another piece to your mental framework, and I don't want you to miss what's coming next. Second, leave me a comment right now saying, "I made it to the end." I read every single one, and it helps me understand who's really paying attention and what resonates most with you. Plus, it tells the algorithm that this content matters, which means more people who need to hear this message will actually find it. And of course, if this video gave you a new perspective or helped clarify something you've been struggling with, hit that like button. It takes 1 second, but it makes a real difference in helping this reach the people who need it most. Now, there's a video right here that dives even deeper into the psychology behind patience and discipline in trading. Click it and continue with me over there. I'll see you in the next one.